Thank you for inviting me. I have a talk which is more like a discussion of what we were facing with the last month. And basically, I don't know if I need to introduce RunMe. RunMe is a repository and a platform for software art that started in 2001. And it's been developed by a group of 11 people, of which 4 people are directly responsible for administration and for technical support of the project. And it started off as an anti-institutional response to a legal practice, to the production of what was growing and becoming software art. And since then it's become one of the resources. If people want to know about software art, they go and look up on RunMe. It's become one of the reference points to kind of entry points to a variety of practices, including aesthetics of code, glitch art, hackly software, funny gimmicks, speculative software, and all other kinds of projects. And the thing is that once, I remember I was asked, I think at Transmediale, I did a presentation of RunMe, and I was asked what are our plans for archiving it and how are we going to go about it historically. And I remember answering that things should be let to die and disappear, and that was the pathos of the moment. And RunMe was never conceived as an archive. It was never. It kind of adopted the form of a database, and we played around with the categories and taxonomies and keyword cloud, but it was never thought really to be an archive. It was a living response to practice that was kind of underway. It was a kind of dirty, chaotic, very lively, dynamic response with a lot of humor to it. So the archive was perceived as something which is dry, controlled, stored somewhere, and is not really, that lacks the qualities of liveliness and humor that kind of tried to push at RunMe. And then last autumn I was having a tutorial with a student, and I wanted to show him some of the projects from RunMe. So I clicked on the category, one of the categories, and there was nothing in. So I opened the page and it was empty. So you see sometimes there are 10 or 15 or 34 categories, projects in categories which opened, and you couldn't see anything. And it made a great impression on me. I thought, it can't disappear. It's such a witness, an example, such a lot of energy generated about the practice. How come it can't just die? And the fact, of course, was that Alex McLean, who designed the website, when it was designed, there were no general CMS open source content management systems, so she had to design it from scratch. He wrote it in Perl, but he used some non-standard libraries, and it's hosted at the server of a friend of his, currently is still, and each time they update the server, there can be faults with RunMe. So Alex McLean at the time is now a PhD student in Goldsmiths, which was the next building to where I worked. So I just went there, we sit together, and he found an error and he fixed it. But this was kind of an indication that something needs to be done, because this can't happen, in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Maybe we're not there anymore. And we started a discussion which very quickly became a very abstract, I'd say, discussion. And what I find interesting about this is that our problems are not technical, but are rather of the level of ethical consideration. Because what we encountered is, okay, RunMe slowed down from the times when it was really active. What do? Do we make a new version of RunMe, which would be an absolutely different project, because software art by now has migrated on iPhones, processing, all kinds of platforms, but this kind of structure would not really fit the current state. Do we need to build a completely different project? Or do we just stop? Because projects are still submitted, not very often, but they still come. Do we just stop now and just kill the dynamism of the site, make it a static website, which is not very difficult technically, and just store it like this, restore a few lost links and projects? And at this point, then the question is, because RunMe was a response and was a continuous response to practice, it lacks the qualities of, for instance, if you imagine it as an archive for software art, it lacks really the context and qualities of an archive because it has not attempted to cover the field, you know. So people who were fundamental to software art did not upload their projects to RunMe because they didn't want to outweigh all the folk elements, you know, of software art, and other people, they didn't want to dominate. So now, currently, there are projects that are essential to software art, which are not on RunMe. So if we archive RunMe, do we bring them on board? Do we contextualize the field? Do we make RunMe undergo this process of historification? And when I was looking into theory and different accounts of what archiving conceptually means on an abstract level, and this is something that Eric referred to, what currently is very often discussed is Agamben kind of version of Foucault, where he discusses archive of Foucault, because for Foucault he explains there is a difference, there is a gap between language and things that, and semantics and semiotics, and statements that have meaning because of the general system of language, and then an act of enunciation or an act of pronouncing something, you know, which is very lively and dynamic. So for Foucault, an archive is a collection of artifacts that are actually witnesses to something that cannot be said or is unsaid. So there is, when he sets up his account of archive, there is this gap between the unsaid and then the statement which includes and references the unsaid. And if it's something that we need to employ for our purposes, for our archives, how do you then transmit and how do you make this bridge between the process of lively enunciation, participation in a practice that has a dynamics to it? And RunMe, you can describe it as an ecology, as a network that has its own life, and none of us organizers really has complete control or understanding of its map. How do you transfer it into a system which is kind of closed and dead in a way? But then also the question is archive always dead? Because archive has a dynamism to it. And then another way to address it is to say that RunMe has, in fact, to become an archive. And it's been always a living practice which was archiving itself at the same time. So there are different layers and levels at which you can look at this problem. Okay. So then I was thinking that the question is also, is now, how do you define the time when the living memory of a practice becomes extinct? So you really need the project or the field to undergo some historification, because this seems to be happening now with software art. And how do you solve all the ethical questions that come up with the project undergoing historification? Yeah, so that's questions I have.